The great thing about the sanctuary, the really cool thing about the sanctuary is that our food program, we have such a high level of core competency, meaning that we're all living this, we're all doing this. I feel confident to be able to take someone from base level, square one, straight off of the conventional American plan for food, all the way to someone who's been on this kind of track. I can take any of those people and kind of meet them wherever they're at. And the thing that's most fascinating to me is no matter where people are at, whether they're straight out of the whole fast food, genetically modified food scene, to we'll get some clients in here who have been juicing and who are into organic food. No matter where they're coming from, I start talking about superfoods, and I start talking about Chinese tonic herbs, and I start talking about thousands of years of herbal traditions that were passed on. People automatically, intuitively know this is a good idea, and it's across the board. And to me, that's really confirming that we're on to something here. As far as how I started cooking professionally, I went to the Culinary Institute of America, and learned a lot there. And then I started working in fine dining in New York City, and that's where I really learned kind of the classic techniques of French kitchens and just how to operate in a professional environment, in a professional kitchen. And that's kind of the framework for what made me who I am now, because without that, I wouldn't have that kind of core competency to be able to interpret upon. For example, Picasso and all of these avant-garde people are all classically trained, and then through that frame of reference, they're able to interpret from there. So that kind of laid down the groundwork for me. And then from there, I definitely had a thirst for knowledge, a thirst for seeing a little bit of something outside of the country, outside of the experiences that I've been having. So I did a bit of traveling, and that kind of led me to spend about a year in Europe. There I lived on an organic fruit farm in France, and that really kind of changed my connection with food. I'd been working so closely with food for 5 or 6 years, and I really didn't have that close relationship, meaning I hadn't really grown food myself. So this experience in France really was an eye-opening thing, and I think that set the foundation for what would be the later part of my career, and that is one of just more connection and really more authenticity around food. It's very common for us to be disconnected from our food, especially in the United States right now, because the vast majority of the food is coming to us in a way where there is no connection. So for example, I was a professional chef working in a kitchen, probably touching and eating more food than most people will in their lifetime in a short period of time. But all of that food was coming to me in cardboard boxes. It was being delivered off of trucks. It was all looking very uniform, and it definitely was lacking soul. So the disconnection is, if you asked me and I answered with innocent perception, I would say, if you said, where does food come from? I would say, oh, it comes from the back of the Baldor truck over there. I didn't have the experience to say, no, food starts as a seed, it's cultivated in the soil, it's nurtured, it's totally reflective on the soil that it grows in. That was completely not in my consciousness at that time. So that's where the disconnect is. This has got to come logically for most people, and it's like, if you just have this pill with some kind of unknown substance in it, it's debatable whether that's a good substance for you or not. Maybe it's a vitamin C extract. But when you put a acai berry in front of someone, or an acerola berry, or a camu camu berry, which are superfood sources of vitamin C, I think that instantly there's a relationship started to develop. So when I talk about foods like this, like cacao or acai berries, there's instantly a relationship starting to form. So it's a lot more exciting, and our intention when we eat and our intention behind our food is really a huge part of it. So for me, it makes a lot more sense to kind of develop a relationship and to set an intention with an actual food in its whole form, the way that nature intended it, as opposed to looking at these isolated compounds, which isolated compounds will lead you to have an isolated relationship with food. So it's pretty logical to me. When most people come to me, they have no idea that this kind of thing exists, that there are certain foods out there that they can consume and they can start to bring their bodies into balance just by consuming whole foods. Really simple, straightforward. Don't need to be a doctor, don't need to have gone to even nutritional school to know that, you know, a raw cacao seed is 15 times higher in antioxidants than a wild blueberry. I mean, when you hear statistics like that, it's just like, it's pretty mind-blowing to know that this kind of thing exists. And these kind of ratios are there across the board when we're talking about superfoods compared to like regular foods. Just by being here at the sanctuary, for most people, it's kind of an eye-opening, and no matter what level people come in with, they're always touched on some level, especially by the food program, meaning that they've probably never eaten this way, in turn probably never felt this good. So people are always asking, you know, different questions, and what we do here is we have a cooking class. We call it a cooking class or a nutrition class or a vitality class, which occurs every Saturday afternoon. And there we kind of like dissect some of the things that we're doing every day in the kitchen. So for example, this morning elixir, this morning tonic beverage that we make, we'll spend an entire class just kind of breaking that down and showing guests, showing clients how they can easily do something like this themselves in their own kind of home environment, no matter what their situation is. The kind of thing that we preach to clients is that you don't have to be a chef. You don't even have to have a kitchen in your house. All you need is a blender, and you can do so much as far as stacking the odds in your favor going. What do I mean by that is, if you have a smoothie containing 10 or more of the top foods in the history of the planet, all in one jar, and you're walking out the door with that, you're off to a really good start. So that's kind of how we try to empower people to take this home with them. And what happens is most clients come in and they're just instantly on the path. It's just so easy when someone's doing it for you, you're eating the foods, you're feeling the effects. It's just so easy to say, yes, I want this in my life, I want to feel this good all the time, and how can I do this? And that's what we're there for, to show them how.